This steak method, I trust every single time. It gives you control over doneness, texture, and timing. I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it, and I'm gonna show you that you don't need the fancy equipment to make a perfect steak at home. All right, first thing, obviously, you're gonna need a steak. I went to the butcher shop, got myself a nice, thick ribeye. Look at this. This method obviously works better with a thicker cut steak. This is about a 2-inch steak. You can do it with a thinner steak. It is gonna be a little bit more trickier to control the heat. Something like this thickness is absolutely perfect, and this will easily fill a family of 4. The first thing you're gonna do is you definitely wanna temper this steak. Something this thick, you wanna let sit at room temperature for at least 30 to 40 minutes. What tempering does is it's gonna take the cool off the steak, the center, so it cooks more evenly. I'm just gonna pat this dry a little bit because it did sweat a little bit when we were tempering it. When I'm doing a steak like this at home, I opt for the dry brine, which is heavily seasoning this with salt. Putting it in the fridge on a wire rack, what that's gonna do is the salt's gonna penetrate and season the meat. It's also gonna extract a lot of the moisture. And then that airflow is gonna allow to dry out the steak. That's gonna ensure you get a perfect crust every single time. But in this video, I'm gonna show you that you do not need to do that. Yes, it's preferred, but I'm gonna show you that you decided you wanted to have a steak and you don't wanna wait 24 hours to cook it. Well, this is the method that's gonna show you that it can be done easily. So first thing is we're gonna season it heavily, and I just have some kosher salt. You can maybe put a little teaspoon of like a neutral oil, like an avocado oil on top of this, so the salt binds, but we do have a decent amount of moisture in here that it will stick. Roll those edges. We wanna make sure we get every little bit. And then for pepper, and this is the biggest mistake I see home cooks making all the time. They're using fresh cracked pepper, but for something like this, when you're trying to sear something, you really just want to use a freshly fine ground pepper because that's gonna give you better contact with the pan. Essentially, that pepper's gonna leave kind of like a barrier in between that pan and lift that steak off the pan. And you're essentially gonna steam the steak rather than get that nice, beautiful crust that we want, right? Being decently liberal with the pepper, I'm gonna get both sides. And for this method, you wanna salt this and season it right when it's about to go in the pan. You don't wanna do this and let it sit because that salt is gonna continue to draw out the moisture. So you should have a preheated pan. Most common mistake I see people doing when they're cooking steak at home is they're not using the right pan, whether it be like a coated enamel pan or non-stick pan. You kind of want to avoid those pans at all costs. Something like a heavy duty all-clad stainless steel pan is great. I do understand that these are a little bit expensive, so a cast iron works great and it's good at retaining heat. Pro tip, you want to heat your pan first and then add your oil or your fat. You don't want both of those coming up to temperature at the same time. You want to heat the pan, add your oil, let your oil lightly smoke, and then you're ready to drop your food in. After we season it, we're going in right away. It's nice and hot, ready to go. I'm using a neutral oil, avocado oil. It's got a higher smoke point, but it is gonna smoke a little bit. If you're indoors, especially like I am, definitely open the windows. Last thing we want is to set off the fire alarms. We're gonna let that come up to temp. Giving off some smoke now, we're ready to go in. And make sure you're always laying that steak away from you. Yep, we can press that down. We're gonna let that go for maybe about a minute, 2 minutes. The other good thing is when you're looking for steak, especially something in like a cut like a ribeye, you don't want something that's super lean because it's not gonna give you a good sear. It's not gonna render the fat out. This steak definitely has some good marbling, which is nice. I expect this to give us a really good crust. Now, something like a steak like this so big is, yes, I can move it around the pan, right? Maybe I'll start it at the bottom and I'll move it to the top, because when I put it here at the bottom, I'm losing a lot of the heat. So just moving it up slightly as I'm kind of creating these like hot spots within the pan to continue cooking and give this a crust. And when I'm looking for a crust, I'm not lifting this up completely, right? I'm getting low with the pan and I'm just peeking under. Oh yeah, that's ready to turn. Look at the crust on that. So again, I'm gonna let that other side go. We're pretty good on this side. I'm just gonna kind of get this fat cap here. Sometimes tilting the pan and getting that oil and that fat. Definitely open the windows. If you're indoors, especially like I am, definitely open the windows. Be right back. Last thing we want is to set off the fire alarms. I said you should open the windows and then I didn't do it.
Definitely open the windows.
That was obviously bad. Yeah, it's gonna keep going. Just gonna sear the cap and I'm gonna get this off. I'm gonna kill the heat on the pan. I'm gonna let this rest for about 5 minutes. With this method, it's basically the cook and rest method. This is gonna ensure you're gonna get a nice crust and you're gonna get even cooking all the way through. So I'm gonna get some shallot going. You do wanna leave the skin on. so you don't run the risk of the shallot burning. Some garlic. I mean, typically you do want to have garlic that you do have the skin on as well. But in my case, I pre-peel all my garlic so I can make my cooking faster. So I'm gonna smash this. Get some smashed garlic in the pan. Okay, that pan has calmed down a bit. You wanna turn this pan back on to a super low. Let's say just under like a medium low. At that point, I'm gonna use some cold, unsalted butter, maybe like 4 tablespoons worth. And this is another mistake I see a lot of home cooks making when they're cooking steak at home and on the pan, is they're adding all their aromatics all in at once. But things like thyme, when using thyme or rosemary, it burns pretty quickly, so you kind of want to hold off on that stuff. And they also are not letting the butter come up to like a foaming kind of consistency like we're seeing right now. You want this butter to kind of brown in and deepen in color, so it gives it a nice nutty flavor, because that's just gonna add so much flavor when we start basting that steak. So this steak has been resting now for 5 minutes, and I'm literally just gonna baste. And that's all I'm gonna do, is just baste this steak. And you'll notice when I throw the skin or the garlic on top of the steak, I'm not trying to do that intentionally. I actually don't want to do that. Another mistake I see being made all the time when I'm watching like steak videos is they're putting all their aromatics on top and then they're basting with their aromatics on top. But the problem with that is basically creating this barrier with your aromatics. And what that's doing when you're basting is you're creating this level of steam. So, I mean, steam equals bad, right? Like, are you kind of getting the picture now where we don't really want to steam this steak at all? We don't want moisture on this steak. We really just want to crisp it up and baby that crust that we're trying to develop here, right? About 3 minutes, every 3 minutes of basting, I'm going to take that and I'm going to flip. And we're just going to baste it. Literally, I'm going to take my time and just baste this steak a bunch of times on super low, right? We just want to keep that butter on there on super low. I'm gonna flip this one more time. This last little baste, now I'm gonna go in with my thyme, and that'll just kiss that butter that we're basting with another level of flavor. And we're building the flavors, right? We're not adding all the aromatics in all at once. We're doing it slowly. We're developing the flavor. That's what cooking's all about. I'm not gonna lay my aromatics on top, but I can just take that liquid and pour that on there like that. And we're gonna let that rest. We're gonna let that rest for a good 8 to 10 minutes. Now, while that's resting, I'm gonna make a beautiful pan sauce, because we do not wanna throw out these like blacky bits in the pan. That's flavor, that's fond. We definitely do not wanna throw that out. And a good way and an easy way to make a pan sauce, some beef stock. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna deglaze the pan about, I don't know, what was that? A cup? This is homemade beef stock. You don't have to use homemade, I just have it. Choosing a beef stock to use or to get, definitely something that's like unsalted would help, because we wanna be able to control the seasonings that's going into the dishes. You could deglaze with like red wine would be really good here, and then we can add beef stock after. That's kind of like a demi. So that's coming together. We've been able to get the brown bits off the bottom, as you can see. We're gonna crank that up a little bit, reduce that down. I'm gonna get some fresh cracked pepper in this. If we add a little touch of heavy cream, just to bring some fat into this sauce, how an Poivre sauce is made. An Poivre is just like a black pepper sauce. It's gonna add some richness to this sauce, which is nice. Let that reduce a little bit more, and then we'll finish it with some cold unsalted butter, just to kind of give it that glossy sheen. So this sauce is done. I'm gonna kill the heat. It's reduced down nicely, like look how thicky that is. Come on, I can drag the spoon through it. We're just going to do a little bit of butter just to kind of finish that sauce and make it glossy and nice. And there should be enough residual heat in that pan to kind of just melt this butter slowly. Like, this sauce is so simple and it's gonna be amazing. It smells so good. This is one of my favorite sauces. It's called Au Poivre. It's a French sauce. Gonna get this steak right onto this board, and I'm ready to cut into this. Then that's nice centerpiece. Like, look at this. This just cuts like butter. The bone, that's like the chef's treat right there. Like, I just love naan on a bone right there. Like, super peppery, super buttery texture. And then we get some of the sauce too. Oh yeah, that is dynamite. If you don't wanna wait to dry brine this or use a sous vide, this is the method, hands down. We seared, we took it off the heat, we let it rest, put it back on the heat, we're basting. I literally basted this steak at least 200 times a side. And that's the difference. That's honestly the difference here. Putting a little love and care into that meat, it's gonna go a long way for you. I hope this changes your steak game, because I know it did for me. If you wanna check out the best pan pizza ever, click this video. If you wanna see me cook more steak like this or any other videos, please like and subscribe, it goes a long way.